Welcome, guys. Thanks for joining us. Today we're just going to talk a little bit about patience. And I don't know about you, I just find I am typically rubbish at being patient about things.
Yes.
And it feels like we live in a world that is kind of actively geared and programming us towards being impatient. Like everything is on demand, and that's seen as good.
Yeah.
Like to get on-demand streaming or on-demand shopping or on-demand credit, it seems a good thing, right? It's not.
Yeah.
Patience seems really unhelpful. Like, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, have you been on Gong Road? Just see what's
Traffic.
going on there. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, matatu drivers, and it's so true. I think that's where this world is taking us, to a place where we want everything at our fingertips. You think it, you order it, and you get it wherever you are. So that's kind of like where we're being driven to. But again, I think that's where now the conflict comes in, when we go to the scripture, and it's the other way around, where we are waiting and being patient. And yeah, I don't know what you guys think about that.
I think we tend to not appreciate the process as much. We want things to happen at a specific time. We are very specific with our lifestyle nowadays. You give yourself timeline when you finish school, you have a timeline when you go to university, you have a timeline as to when you want to get married. So everything sometimes is almost specified for you. So the virtue of patience doesn't really matter at that point. Yeah.
And it feels like we've begun to value simply the destination
Yeah.
and never any part of the journey, as though there was nothing to be gleaned or gained from that journey. And I think you just observe that in the way people act and do things. Like everyone's like head down on a mission wherever they go. What's your kind of experience on board?
Yeah, I think you make a really good point when you say we value the destination and not the journey. And so when we are forced to not to have answers immediately, that becomes so tricky, because if the destination is the goal, then there's nothing in between. The waiting is not helpful.
Right.
So yeah, I love what Daniel was talking about in the sermon about waiting on the Lord, because I think the Bible isn't just telling us to wait patiently; it's giving us an indication of how we can get help doing that, and that's by trusting God. So yeah, the process is both God helping us, and also the whole process of waiting helps us get closer to God and trust God more. So yeah, that was really helpful.
Yeah, and I wonder, like, what you guys think about actively, patiently waiting. Like, I mean, we don't just want to encourage laziness in the same way, where we say, yeah, let's wait upon the Lord. Okay, I'm not gonna do anything.
Yeah.
The girl that I want to marry is just gonna pop up somehow, some way. Or the job, my dream job, is just gonna show up because I'm waiting on the Lord. What do you guys think? Like, how do you actively wait and faithfully wait on the Lord?
It's almost like a sense that I think of active patience as opposed to inactive patience.
Yeah.
And just taking time to be with God, and seeing lulls in things that we're doing as opportunities to do things we might not do otherwise. I think just one of the things I found, just when I've had moments, just instead of saying, okay, what can I fill my time with, as though I need to get somewhere, go, okay, God, is this just a moment where I can just spend with you in a way that has been gifted to me almost in a beautiful way. But we see that around as well. People are kind of, we say patience as almost like a dirty word, don't we? We find it synonymous with laziness. So like, oh gosh, they're so lazy, they're not doing anything. And like if someone went, they're such a patient person, we wouldn't think much of that, would we? Esther, what's children taught you about being patient?
In fact, I used to be very impatient, and because I was very aware of that. But then I became very aware of my level of impatience when I got our baby, and sleeping was my favorite thing to do. And now I have to be patient enough to wait for this child to develop and get to a stage where she can sleep on her own, and just accept that, it's a process. I can't just make her sleep tonight. I can't make her choose to feed at a particular point, she's also growing. So that's why I also think patience in between that time of being patient and choosing active patience, you can take it as a moment of growth and not just laziness. So if you are waiting for that job, try and find a course that you can start working towards and developing your skills in that. If you're waiting to get married or marry that person that you're with, work towards being a better person. Work towards planning yourself financially, planning yourself in terms of values. What do you really want to look? What do you want this relationship to look like, and what kind of person will you be to this other person? So I think, yeah.
I think I've found patience, patience, faithfulness, and self-control to be something that is tested and something that comes out over time. It's very easy to think that we're patient because of a one-off event, like somebody's baby. I was holding somebody's baby and they were crying the entire time, and I was patient that day. But when you have the baby at home and every day, or you're married to someone who you think, okay, maybe they're a bit impatient or they're a bit slow, and you see this person each and every day, I think that's where our patience and our faithfulness and our self-control is tried. And in this relationship with God, what does that look like? You know, like to practice patience, to wait on the Lord, and to be faithful even in the waiting.
Yeah, because I think you're right. We've made our Christian faith something that, like the journey of our Christian faith, something that mirrors our society. Right. So like, I can have movies on demand. Why can't I have my faith on demand? Like, why is it not all of a sudden there? And yeah, and then like, one of the things you talked about last year quite a bit was like the journey you felt you were on with Jesus and stuff. And I remember talking at the time going, why is it not just happening? Almost that kind of thing. What's been your experience of that?
Yeah, I think just understanding that as much as I have been a Christian for a while, there's still more room to grow. So you still need to be patient because you'll never be at the point where you want to be. So just understanding that all the disciplines that you're trying to cultivate and everything that you're doing is not going to manifest immediately. Yeah, so just waiting for that and trusting God, to praying to Him to give you that patience even as you wait.
I also think it's a very painful process, especially if you're at a stage where it's a very dry season, a very tough season. Like during this COVID, people have lost jobs. So how do you even urge someone to be patient? It's so hard.
And just on that, like as we wrap up, what are the things that you guys would recommend to help practice patience, cultivate patience? What would you recommend, apart from having a baby, maybe?
Yeah, I think for me, it's always very encouraging to, if I'm patiently waiting for something, not to sort of like isolate myself and kind of like deal with something. And if it's a painful wait, a painful process of patience, kind of like engage myself in the Word of God, engage myself in community, constantly stay in connection with people. And I find that in the waiting, if I'm waiting for an answer from God, sometimes that's where God starts revealing stuff that I've been asking about through a prayer. Maybe somebody randomly says a prayer, or somebody says speaks a word upon my life, or somebody just says, hey, I work at this organization and they're looking for someone who does this, and it's probably the job that I was looking for. And I find that in community, and I find that in my prayer time, in my quiet time. So just cultivating that life and say, even though I'm waiting, but I'd like to be as connected as possible to God in that process.
Yeah, for me, when it comes to maybe having patience with people, what I do is that I just try to remember that people also have patience with me, and just try to try to give them that same patience that people have had with me and that God has had with me. So
That's good. But you, Esther, have you found ways to be patient?
I have learned the art of waiting and choosing to accept that things can't happen instantly. So you just have to accept that sometimes things need to take their own time. And that waiting time, God is perfecting you into becoming the person that you need to be in order to receive what you've asked for. So just appreciating that I'm growing, I'm just not stagnant, even though it looks like nothing is happening. Yeah.
I think for me, I've just intentionally chosen to do things that slow me down, that make me live an unhurried life. So sometimes when I drive, I intentionally go the long way round because there aren't as many cars on those back roads. It takes longer, but there aren't as many cars, and so it's almost like a lifestyle choice to unhurry myself, to not always be rushing places. One of the things I try and do is if I'm in a queue in a shop to never get my phone out. And just to try and appreciate that moment for what it is. And just those are some of the little things that I've tried to do. In the morning, I want to have patience with my day. So as I get up, I don't look at my phone until I've said good morning to God and my wife and the kids, and we've all had breakfast. And so once we've had breakfast, then I want to engage in the day in a new way once I've engaged with the people I think that are close to me and important. So guys, we encourage you this week just to be thinking really practically about how do we be more patient? How do we take time? How do we slow ourselves down that we might see God in a new way, see what He's doing in the journey? Yeah, thanks guys.